How would you describe the Lakers' offseason up until this point?
I honestly believe, I think it's they having the worst offseason. You got LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and they really haven't did anything to move the needle. And I'm gonna just leave it at that. Not if you consider yourself a contender. You haven't did anything to absolutely move the needle. Not like the other teams are doing right now. And no disrespect to these players, but in my opinion, they're not moving the needle and trying to help you win a championship.
Malika, I talked to one Western Conference team today who had interest in Kyrie Irving and said they're out because they said the Nets were asking for too much. What they wanted back in return, without naming the players, was basically a starter and a half, almost two young front court players from them. And so this team does not have picks, so they did not add it in, so they're out. That doesn't mean that's going to be what the Lakers and perhaps the Spurs are going to be giving in. But I think knowing Joe Tsai and how he trusts in Sean Marks, he's going to want Sean Marks to get the best deal possible, and they're not going to do Kyrie Irving any favors. I would agree with Perk as well. Russell Westbrook, the dynamic between Russell Westbrook and LeBron James, I'm very curious about this, Dave, because if Russell Westbrook comes back and they don't get Kyrie Irving, and you know Russell Westbrook's going to know that any move made by the Lakers would have had to be signed off by LeBron James, especially with Kyrie Irving. What do you think that dynamic is going to be if Russell Westbrook has to return?
If he has to return, he's got to play better basketball for them to have any shot of doing anything next year. He was one of the league leaders in turnovers, one of the league's worst players when it comes to outside shooting, only behind Julius Randle in terms of the amount of shots he took from the perimeter and his inability to convert on them. So honestly, the relationship will have to be figured out on the basketball court. I think the other stuff doesn't really matter. And guess what? Like, Perk, I understand your point. You had to take care of your players in the contingency that player would be back with the team next year. Now, you saw some of that from Darvin Ham at his first day introductory press conference where he was lauding Russell Westbrook. But it's no secret that the Lakers have interest in trading Russell Westbrook if they can. And so you got to live in reality too, Perk.
Right, so that's the Lakers side of things. Let's go to the Clippers. Okay, yes, Kendrick.
No, I agree. I agree. No problem with that.
I hear what Perk is saying, but let's bring up that graphic again. Because if I'm a Lakers fan, this is the one positive side. You guys finally got some youth on your roster. The Lakers' average age last year was 32. That's just too old. The league is getting younger. You got Memphis Grizzlies, Minnesota Timberwolves. Even the Warriors have plenty of youth with Wiggins, Poole, Kuminga, those guys. The Lakers needed some youth, and they got that. So yeah, they may have not moved the needle as much as they need to, but they got some youth on their roster, and they still might get Kyrie Irving instead of Russ. So that would be an upgrade. But now I want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments. Did the Lakers have the worst offseason in the NBA, or did they actually help their roster a little bit? Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe for more NBA content just like this. And I will see you in the next upload.